ready to go? Or we're afraid this is
You think it is? I don't think
Yeah, we do. Oliver's here. And Doug's here.
I'd like to call the May 10th Finance Meeting to order. Ms. Fontenot, could you please lead us in prayer following the pledge?
Would be glad to. Father, as always, we do give you honor and praise. We thank you for the blessings that you've bestowed upon our parish. Father, tonight I ask special blessings upon all those across our nation who are suffering from weather-related activities and fire. We ask that you bless them and restore their communities, Lord. We ask your blessings upon our soldiers, both men and women who are abroad fighting for freedom in this country and for the freedom of others. We ask they return home safely and quickly, and we ask for a complete end to the war. And Father, we ask tonight that you secure our gates and our borders by your glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Cinnamon, let the record reflect that Councilman McConnell, Councilman Valentine, Councilman Savoy, Councilman Thompson, Councilman Shakespeare are all absent. Chair's additions, I don't believe we have any. Public comment period. Anyone wishing to speak, please sign a speaker card with the Secretary, Ms. Cinnamon, and you can have 3 minutes at that particular agenda item. Committee, if y'all don't mind, we have some guests, some who travel from out of town with the Corps, and they have a kind of lengthy presentation, and we ask that we kind of jump on the agenda and take up 11C at this moment.
Motion to amend the agenda, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Hillensbeck, second by Mr. Lambert. Todd, any objection? Motion carries. Ms. Cinnamon, also let the record reflect that Mr. McConnell is here. 11C, Stag Grant Comprehensive Wastewater Treatment Presentation.
Put that under 4A, Mr. Chairman.
My name is Deron Elsie, representing the Corps of Engineers. Thank you for this opportunity to present before the council. Tonight we have a short presentation to go over some of the work that has happened in the parish as it relates to the wastewater treatment work that we're doing. We have prepared a presentation to talk a little bit about the Corps program that's assisting the parish and the STAG grant, and we're going to roll into the business plan, which will ultimately lay out some funding avenues for you. Just to give you a little background on what the Corps, how the Corps is involved in this, we're working via our authority, Section 219 authority, authorized via Order 92. Basically, our main purpose is to provide technical planning and construction assistance for local entities. The cost share is 75-25, 25% being prepared, contributed by the parish. And the main focus of the 219 program is water and wastewater treatment, planning, and infrastructure development. Just to give you a little background on some of the works that were completed to date. When we first got involved, we took a comprehensive look at all of the plans that have been prepared for the parish as it relates to water and the wastewater development. We reviewed all of those documents, formed one additional document, and this document ultimately identified Darrow and Hillaryville wastewater treatment plant. And this kind of served as our roadmap for our path forward for the work that we would accomplish in Ascension Parish. The next item that was considered was the Lamar-Dixon wastewater treatment plant and site study. We completed this around December 2003 timeframe. This was to assess the feasibility of incorporating a regional wastewater treatment plant into the existing site. The next item that we looked at was a corrective action master plan, and it ultimately focused in on Bayou Francois and Servio Canal. These areas were subject to water quality violations. They looked at possibly doing wetland assimilation, but we realized that this was not the most feasible option, and we ultimately identified another alternative. And we also facilitated the negotiations of the Ascension Water Company franchise agreement. This was successfully negotiated September of 2006, and this ultimately became effective the first part of this calendar year. So these are some of the items that we've worked on with the parish over the past few years since we've gotten engaged with you guys. Have some good news to report as it relates to the environmental information document. We've received the finding of no significant impacts from EPA. This process began in the late 90s. The Corps came in, got involved, and facilitated some of the coordination with EPA, and we've got the letter which allows us to expend the funds that were received under the STAG grant, which is a total of roughly $2.18 million. And basically the 4 projects that were identified specifically in the EID were Darrow, Hillaryville, the Ascension Jail tie-in, and the water distribution improvements in ACUD number 1. Basically, for Darrow and Hillaryville, this will serve as a reimbursement. We're going to be working with Martha over the next few weeks to make certain that we can get those reimbursements back. The rough estimate for the reimbursements for Darrow is right around $300,000, and for Hillaryville, it's right around another $300,000. So we're going to be assisting Martha over the next week and preparing the documentations necessary to get those funds back to the parish. The next item that was identified as a part of the EID was the Ascension, the Donaldsonville tie-in. As you can see there, we have the cost share, with the parish providing roughly $225,000 and EPA providing $275,000. And the last item is the ACUD number 1 water distribution improvements. Basically, we were looking to install some storage tanks, some water main. The total estimated cost for the project is $3.9 million. The STAG grant is going to fund a portion of that, which will fund the storage tanks and some of the storage pumps and controls. The estimated cost for that is roughly $500,000, and EPA will provide roughly $275,000 and the parish $225,000. Next, we're going to talk about the comprehensive wastewater treatment system. We were evaluating this pre-Katrina. Our pre-Katrina estimate was roughly $122 million. As we all may be aware, the construction costs have increased post-Katrina. So the total estimate right now for the comprehensive wastewater treatment system is roughly $158 million. This will be broken up into 3 phases that we've identified. Our pre-Katrina design capacity was roughly 7.5 MGD. Post-Katrina, we're looking at 9 to 10 million gallons per day, and this is the average flow. We're using the sequencing batch reactor technique to treat it. And Manish from Hartman will cover the funding mechanisms for these particular efforts. But phase 1 is really broken up into 3 main items, 3 main components. We're looking at the regional wastewater treatment plant. We're about 95% complete on the design phase of that, and its estimated cost is roughly $12 million. As additional components for this wastewater treatment plant, you have the Grand Gadine collection system. We're right about 25% design. As of now, the current estimated construction is roughly $12 million. And then you also have the wastewater treatment plant and fluid force main discharging into the Mississippi River, and this estimated construction cost is right around $3 million. So this will entail phase 1 of the wastewater treatment plant. In phase 1, you'll get an average flow of roughly 1.5 million gallons per day, average flow. We'll then move into phase 2, which would ultimately increase the capacity to 3.5 million gallons per day. The estimated cost for that is roughly $10 million. There's going to be some modifications that will be made to the existing plant that is built under phase 1 to get to the 3.5. And then ultimately we'll roll into phase 3, which will include some collection system components, and we'll ultimately get to our design capacity. At this point, Manish Murda from Hartman Engineering, who's working with us on this effort, will talk about the business plan. The business plan is going to outlay the financing mechanisms for this particular effort.
Good evening. Once again, some of the members represent the last utility committee meeting. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you very much for allowing me to present this comprehensive business plan. This is a very, very important document for this growing parish. Basically what it does is laying out the framework for moving forward from now until 2018 and how we're going to achieve our objective of providing sewer system to the citizens of this great parish. So when we started putting together a business plan, there were 4 issues that we looked at. What is the problem? What is the objective? What are we trying to do? How much is going to cost to do that? What is the timeline? How long it's going to take? And then most important question is that how are we going to get paid? How are we going to pay for all these activities? I mean, plan is as good as funding. If you don't have the funding, any ambitious plan cannot be implemented. So what we try to do is put all the 4 elements together, match it in a way that's more realistic, more practical, and more flexible. As we move forward, we can make changes without affecting progress of any of our project. So what you see is what we call is a roadmap, very basic, easy to understand roadmap. On one side, it lists all the projects that have been identified in the previous plan. It tells you the timeline from 2007 to 2018, show you a location of those things. I'm going to bring it back to the monitor since last time it didn't come out very clearly, so I just decided to bring the map. But So what the goal is to allow the parish to move forward with this infrastructure program. Obviously, it's a long due, it's a difficult goal, but it has to be achieved sometime. The objective is to match the proposed project with the optimum funding and appropriate grant funding program available for various infrastructure needs. To serve as a guide for roadmap of parish and implementing funding strategy for proposed capital improvement program. As you all know that we have a lot of different funding sources available to us. USDA, US EPA STAG grants, core Section 219 funding, low interest loan, CDBG money. And the idea is to have a document, a cookbook, a roadmap, that all the informations are there for anybody to look at, to see when they need to apply for those grants, what are the conditions, what are the documents, and how we can get the funding. So before you need those money a year in advance, a year and a half in advance, you can put together a plan in motion. So everything in this document, that our plan is to provide all of you guys, council, to have it looked at, go through it, and ultimately at some point adopt this document. Because sometimes these fundings require proper planning. For example, STAG money that LG mentioned it. It took several years before now finally Parish is in position to start getting some of the money back. I believe it started in '99, and up to this point we were not able to get all the money. This documents provide a proper timing. For example, STAG grant in month of what month you need to start talking to your legislature, how you're going to put your application process together, how you're going to follow through the committee in Congress and all these things, and make sure that you get your fair share of the money. Same with CDBG, same with CORE. So this document is a very comprehensive. It doesn't allow just parish to burden all the work on their shoulder. They can go out, look for all these things. For example, low interest loan. Right now, the rate's at historically low, 2.5%, 2.45% is interest, and they have a maintenance fee of another 0.5. So you're looking at 2.95% low interest loan. You know, Baton Rouge took advantage of it. They have a money available, and this is something that needs to be looked at and at least pursued. So we kind of document all those things together. And then this document has a technical detail that allows you to prepare a grant application in short notice. A lot of time when we work in the grant, and Martha probably attests to it, the timeline is a 1 week turnaround, 2 weeks turnaround, and you kind of start looking around what needs to be done. And when you have this plan, you can see that, okay, we got 5 projects implemented, we got to take care of this one. This is a 1-2-page description of the project. This is the construction cost. Attach it to grant and apply it. So this kind of allows somewhat to stimulate to move forward with the grant. Sometimes we kind of reluctant not to apply the grant because we don't have information. So we making this business plan comprehensive at the same time, simple to understand and flexible so we can change it. This include, as I say, timeline, schedules, and budget at the best knowledge at this time. Obviously, these are going to be changing as the funding become available. One of the also good feature of this plan is not all the project is coming from one source. Variety of sources the money is coming from. What it allows to do it, if for some reason your funding is not coming in from one source, you still can move forward with the project because you not all the money is coming from one sources. And this include, as I say, US EPA STAG grant, LCDBG sewer project, 219 money. You know, parish can expect $1.5 every year from Corps of Engineers, CDBG money, and all those things. And when you start putting those things together, you can see a real achievable goal here. As you said, this kind of lists you all the capital improvement projects. You got list of project number. We also listed where the money is going to come from. You can have a project descriptions, and at some time in the future, you can put it on your website, and where you can kind of click it on each of those projects and real time monitor the progress of those projects, you know, where those projects stand. This kind of shows you a timeline, timeline in the sense of design and construction, all the different projects, source of funding, when it started, 2007 to 2009, 2007 to 2011. That allows you to kind of get a snapshot pictures of where every project stand. And we have listed for every project that were part of a comprehensive water wastewater plan. Go all the way to 2018. This is just kind of give you example of listing all the projects, where the source of the money is, what is the status of project, under design, under construction. Very realistic and very practical. It's almost like a living document. You can move forward. So what we are asking the committee to consider is that we have gone through administration, we presented to President Hughes, we have done it to Utility Commission, the committee, Finance Committee, and ultimately our objective is to present to a full council first week of June and ask to adopt this comprehensive water wastewater master plan and business plan as a guiding document. It's a consistent one document. Everybody's looking at the same pictures and achieving it to a common goal, and ultimately to implement what all of us was trying to do it for a long time, which is the long-term water wastewater infrastructure program. As LG has mentioned, we have working with the administration. We have submitted extension for a grant. We're going to complete the DARO reimbursement request that allows some money to come back to parish that they have already spent it. We are asking you to approval CORE as CORE becoming a important part of this program as a sewer capital program manager. I also like to go ahead and inventory all the sewer system. what conditions they are, where they are, and eventually the plan would be to have all these things come to your centralized sewer system, where one treatment plant and force main discharging to river. We're going to continue to work with administration to apply for all these grants and fundings. Want to begin a DEQ loan application. As I said, that when you talk to them, they're very excited about that. They have money available. They have a low interest loan. So at least we can go in and start the process once the plan is being adopted. We need to look at the parish ordinance for accepting the new subdivision. How they're going to come in, what will be the impact on our sewer system, how much they have to contribute to make sure they can come in. Those things needs to look at, and we'll make a plan of. And CORE is continue to assist Parish Department of Public Works. Also, we're going to explore USDA Rural Utility Service grants, which are available. So, in sense, what we are trying to do is put all of those things ahead of us. You cannot react on a problem if you don't know what the problem is. And then once you realize the problem, how are you going to achieve it from the funding point of view? And that's what we're trying to do it. So at this point, if you have any questions, I can answer you. Roland, LG can answer you. If you're not able to answer it, we'll be responding later on, sir.
Mr. Hillens back.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. On page 18, on your proposed capital improvement construction projects, I didn't see anywhere in the booklet where there's a map of collection area system, Area 1, Area 2, Area 3, Area 4. And I know this is going to be somewhat in the out years, but could you provide us with a map that designates what these areas
Just the
are?
boundary of those areas?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
We can
if you
do
get
that.
me that, I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Because I'll have, I'll be
Absolutely.
asked questions by my constituents, and I want to
Absolutely.
be able to tell them what
Sure.
area they're in and
We can
how
do
we
that.
can follow it a little better. Okay.
We can
Thank
do
you.
that, sir.
Very good presentation.
Any other questions, comments, concerns?
I'd like to add one additional item that I forgot to mention earlier. We actually received a call from Louisiana DEQ this afternoon before we came up, and they're very excited about the work that's going on here. They found out about it, and there are monies available, and we will be meeting with them sometime in next week to discuss the opportunity to get some additional funds here in the parish.
Anything else? Question? Mr. Joseph.
Once again, I just want to reiterate that I agree with the plan. It's a great plan. I hope we move forward with it. But always, I'm just hoping that the west side of the river get put on this program somewhere along the line.
Yes, sir.
And so just keep that in mind. Thank you.
Mr. Lambert, Todd
Yeah,
Lambert.
this might be addressed to the parish president. Once this sewer system is built and implemented, have we looked at the numbers on far as user fees and stuff to make sure that this thing can break even and make,
The
I know
numbers,
without
the
water,
numbers
just
that
sewer only, it's gonna be
the
tough.
Corps has used in our consultants has been $40 a month sewer fee.
to break even?
Well, that's just sewer. Of course, we don't have parish water, so, and we have with our franchise agreement that Ascension Water, through one of their utility service companies, would actually collect our fees. So this is exciting in that we have a roadmap, we have a plan, we have financial mechanisms in place. Obviously, the cost estimates of $155 million for the entire east bank of the parish is, you can't say that's exact, but it's been a lot of work, as you know, for over 3 years, Todd, and and our instruction to them was to make sure that we have a reasonable sewer fee that a citizen can, on fixed incomes, can reasonably expect to pay.
Exactly.
And so $40 is what they've based this on.
Thank you.
Mr. Hillens back.
Yes, thank you again, Mr. Chairman. Mr. President, when you say the entire east bank of the parish, now all along we started out parish-wide sewer, then we went to comprehensive, which was going to service these basins noted and the northern end of the parish. Now you just said the entire east bank. Have we left comprehensive and now we're going back to the entire east side of the?
It's comprehensive in the sense that we're trying to take in the whole parish. Now, part of the West Bank plan will include obviously what we do with the jail facility, as we spend $2 million to take the jail to the city of Donaldsonville. Now, that part of the plan still has to be worked on.
Right.
But
right.
This is a comprehensive plan for the parts of our parish above the Mississippi River, let's put it that way.
Okay.
And over a period of 10 or 11 years to phase in construction, tie in new development.
Right.
So that we have this part of the parish
Okay.
included in this wastewater program.
Well, it was my understanding that after this program was finished, there would still be some outlying neighborhoods that would be on a neighborhood sewage plant. So
We
they
have
would not
tried to bring in all of it.
Okay, but is that what's in this roadmap?
That's what's in this roadmap.
The
Yes, sir.
entire east side, I guess outside the city limits of Gonzales.
I hope you picked up on it where we need help from the council, and you two things hopefully you heard. Number one, the first meeting in June, we'd like you to adopt this master plan so you have 3 or 4 weeks to really look at it, answer questions. We're trying to do some overkill here to make sure every member of the council, as well as our citizens, has an opportunity to look at this. And then secondly, the ordinance is going to be required, or how we're going to, right now, a new development basically is selling a wastewater treatment unit to a business for $1, donating it basically. Now, some parishes, they'll donate that to the parish. But obviously, we just can't start taking these in yet because we don't have a facility to do it. So the comprehensive treatment plant off of Highway 30 is the first thing we really need to get built and started. But we need to get an ordinance in place so that new communities coming in who are building packaged treatment plants within that community neighborhood will become part of the parish system and not part of a private system. And we need to do that by an ordinance. And our consultants would work with us to draft that with our new planning director as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Lambert.
Yeah, I would like to offer a motion that we accept the Corps' recommendations and bring this to the full council.
Full council for May 1st?
June
First meeting.
June, yeah.
June 1st.
Motion by Mr. Lambert. Second by Mr. Hillensbeck. Any further discussion? Mr. McConnell.
Just a question. I wasn't able to be at the Utilities Committee meeting last night when all of this was presented before. Are we going to have some working meetings, or can we arrange some one-on-one time to better understand this? I mean, some of us have been working on this for 8 years and longer.
Absolutely.
And I'm
Absolutely.
very excited that we're finally doing something and moving along.
We would be more than happy to meet you guys individually, as well as any of the questions that pop up, that you feel free to call us and we'll answer you. As I said, that everything's kind of laid out, so everything should be open and we should be able to answer all the questions, sir.
I like this. I want to commend you on this because I've sat through several different presentations of different wastewater plans that we looked at, and this is, I think it's not only thorough, but it's fairly easy to understand. I just have some additional questions and some more information that I want about how things are going to work and how things are going to gel and meld in the parish. So if we could get with the administration and they could arrange some one-on-one time.
And this is how President Hughes' instruction to us was to make sure it's very simple, that everybody can understand, that it's very transparent, laid out and all things. So we continue to, as opposed to making a complicated document, we try to be as simple as possible.
And Mr. Lambert, Mr. Todd Lambert, made a very good point earlier that I want to expand upon. A lot of the problems that we've had in the years has been what the user fee is going to be and whether it would even be affordable. So this $40 fee does sound more
Right.
in line with what I believe the people of the parish can afford or what they're paying already. So that's something I was very happy to hear. So I want to get more information on that, on the financial aspect of it as well. Could you maybe just do a little breakdown of cost? And not tonight, but everybody talks about the increase in the cost over Hurricane Katrina, and how costs have gone up dramatically since the hurricane. Could you break down and where those increases have come from? Because, I mean, we're essentially talking about moving dirt and laying pipe.
Right.
If you could break down those costs for me when we have our meeting, I'd appreciate knowing that as well.
Yeah.
I mean, because we're not talking concrete and lumber here.
Right.
So I'd appreciate knowing that.
And it's a very complicated dynamics where how many projects are coming in the market, what time is coming in the market, and it's kind of, sometimes you have a direct impact of the cost, whether the steel or concrete or things like that, or labor. Sometimes you have indirect impact of what the cost is, since all these contractors are occupied and doing certain things that somewhat indirectly impact the cost of doing a simple job like laying a sewer and things like that. So I will explain to you.
Thank you. And I just want to make certain that I completely understand what's going on, but I'm ready to lay pipe, and we've been ready to lay pipe for several years. Let's lay some pipe, and let's get it out of here. Let's flush this stuff.
Appreciate the opportunity, and I appreciate the chairman for allowing us to present it before. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have a motion by Mr. Dempsey Lambert, second by Mr. Hillensbeck. Any objection? Motion carries. Now we'll go to number 5, Lamar Dixon Expo Center update. Mr. Eddie Crawford.
Good evening, Council. You should have up there a copy of our March financials report. As usual, if you look to that first page, about halfway down on the right, reflects our month of March. We have a positive variance of $2,308. As you look down that page, this is just more information that kind of reinforces that top half of the page. Page 2 as well, just more information that will support what we were doing in the first half. As you look to page 3, this kind of gives you where we are year to date. As you look down towards the bottom of that information, we are looking at a $48,490 positive variance. So we're still doing very well for our first quarter. As you look at the fourth page, this is actually a page where we're working with the parish administration to try to adopt this as maybe a one-page report. We think we can get most of the information in here. We're still working on it, but we should have something that's a little fresher and easier to understand for you for the next month. The first 3 columns basically represents the month of March. Then you get into our year actual and our year budgeted. This, as you go down the page, reflects the parish's cost down there towards the bottom. And if you look at that bottom line, that's kind of the picture of where we are year to date right now. You will notice that last column on the right, we're trying to give you some historical information. That was last year's actuals. So we're continuing to grow the operation. We'll get this situation. There's down there at the very bottom. You'll see in our year actual the $146,791 versus the budgeted $195,280,000. That's a big number compared to last year. We had to take an additional operational draw. Last year we made it to, I think, July or June before we had to take a draw from the parish funds in order to continue operations. So that's why that number looks a lot bigger than last year's. We just had to take this draw earlier this year. Page 5 is our balance sheet. Nothing outstanding there. Page 6, we're still looking at these accounts receivables. We're working on collecting the rest of those. As I said in the last meeting, several of these folks are annual contracts with us, so when we have discrepancies in our billing, we usually get those things straightened out before they sign up for their next event. So I don't look for that to be a problem collecting. And then I included in the this last page is a letter from a promoter that we're working with right now, and it just it tells kind of the story we've been talking about for the last year or so. This gentleman's been talking with us for about 2 years now, looking to move his event from New Orleans to Baton Rouge, Gonzales, I'm sorry. And his concern is the financial obligation of once he moves here, he needs really a 5-year or longer commitment. So these are some of the issues we're starting to really come to fruition with us as far as these folks are looking for that commitment. It's making it a little harder to go out there. We have to, in my mind, tell them that we have this lease looming. So just making that aware of you. These are the conversations that we're starting to encounter. It does make it difficult with the larger equine shows are booking 5 and 6 years out in advance. So for us to get in that game, that's kind of the story we're telling. We're here, we're operating, we're still open, but we have this situation. Great events coming up this weekend. We have the first annual RCA Rodeo. It's a one-day event. This gentleman came over from Texas to produce his show. Could possibly be a sellout. He wanted to try out the facility for a one-night deal, possibly going to make this an annual event and turn it into a 3-day rodeo for us. So that's a lot of good news. That show starts Saturday at 8 p.m. We also have a craft show going on. He is now going to sign on with us for every other month. There'll be a craft show in the the 4-H facility. That is Saturday and Sunday this weekend. Farmers Market, as you may have heard, is cranking up and doing well, growing every weekend. So the grand opening is May 26th. I believe we're up to 10, 12 vendors now. So we've been working with the Economic Development Corporation. That is really looking promising. Just some of the things that we have out pending. As I said, with Mr. Bart Cable, his RV trade show is out there. We met right now, or we've got a contract going out to the Louisiana chapter of the American Public Works Association. That'll be another meeting, conference-type event like we did with the Louisiana Firemen's Convention. Cabela's, we're working with them to do mass hiring and training space and information like that. We met yesterday with the Vietnam Veterans Association, planning a reunion in 2008. Could be upwards of 30,000 to 40,000 veterans coming into the facility for 5 to 6 days. So that's going to be a tremendous economic impact if we can make that happen. We are a finalist in the National Bikers Roundup Association. This group is out of Kansas. 30,000 bikers for this motorcycle rally. It's not the bikers that we see in the movies. These are the folks who are semi-retired and traveling in their RVs and spending a week with us. So again, that's an August 2008 event that we're working with. So lots of good things happening out there. Appreciate your support. I know everybody's anxious to see how the bicentennial settled out financially. It was very well for everybody involved, and of course a tremendous effort from everybody out there at Lamar-Dixon and through the parish. We appreciate your support. Any questions that I can answer for you?
Questions, comments? Mr. Hill's back.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Eddie, can you comment? It's my understanding that the Jazz Fest had representatives that visited Lamar-Dixon during bicentennial. That's Saturday. And I don't know, it may be a question for the parish president as well. How did that visit go, and did you get any feedback from them as far as what their views were on the facility and the bicentennial number of people out there and what have you?
Right.
Would you comment on
Yes, sir.
that?
Positive all the way around. They've been coming up now for about 3 or 4 months now, about 3 or 4 different visits. They've looked at the sportsman show, liked the way that operation worked. The bicentennial was the bicentennial was, of course, the biggest crowd we've had out there, I believe, since the place was built. So their major concern at that point of the bicentennial was how we were going to move the traffic in and out. We had some issues Friday night, and the Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office stepped in and helped that volunteer group. So we didn't have any of those issues Saturday. So they were very pleased with how the reaction time went from Friday night with we've all heard about the traffic being piled up out on the interstate to Saturday being basically no issues whatsoever. We didn't have any parking issues once we had made those adjustments. So I think they're very, very pleased with how the facility and the parish can handle that operation. And I think we'll be looking at crowds at least that size for their event.
Right. In their event, again, and I've had some positive feedback from residents around the parish about the possibility of doing the Cajun Country Festival.
Yes, sir.
Those people putting it on.
They're the ones that will be putting that on. Right. They're coming out of Jazz Festival right now, so the conversations have been few, but we imagine as they come out of that event and get everything straight, they will start putting this together. The last conversation I had unofficially was where it's just a matter of getting the talent lined up. This will be A-list talent coming. So right. We've still got to work. We've got preliminary deal hanging out there. Nothing contracted yet.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you, Mr. Crawford. Thank you.
If I could, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. President.
I think one of the real positive things that's happened in our parish, and I'm not sure if you guys have been meeting with the Riverton Plantation Group. Mr. Steve Oob, who developed River Ranch in Lafayette, is involved with some developers now with this community between Burnside and Dara called Riverton Plantation, 495 acres. And their charrette presentation Tuesday night of this week, I think it was, when I was there, they actually have within their plans where Highway 22 would tie into St. Landry Road, as well as Highway 44 coming in with Eden Barn. So they're working together looking at that. So we would now have traffic that could go to Sorrento, the interstate, as well as Highway 44, I-10. And then, so that would really open this whole corridor up. And with the Cabela's opening this fall and Tanger Mall adding about 40% additional stores to their facility, Highway 30, St. Landry, I-10 is already have some traffic challenges. And so these two new entrances and exits off of the interstate will be very significant for the success of people coming to Cabela's and those coming to events Lamar Dixon as well, as far as getting traffic in and out. And the developers are going to be the ones to really pay for this as part of their community, is what we're working on now. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Number 6, malpractice insurance renewal for mental health and health unit. Ms. Susan Menendorf, mental health director, and Harry Roback.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Council Lady and Councilman. Celeste asked me if I'd present the Ascension Parish mental health insurance proposal to you. Of course, I told her I'd be happy to. No white lie never hurts anything, does it? But anyway, I thought I'd just give you an overview of the premium that we paid over the last several years, and then just compare it to what we're having to pay today. Then give you an idea of the company that's behind the policy that's being written for the parish program. 2002 to 2003, the premium was $31,000 with a $5,000 deductible. And then you skip down to 2005, 2006, you see it was $51,000 with a $15,000 deductible, which was indicative of the insurance in the times that we're in, especially the health insurance market. 2006, 2007, it was a requirement that we increase the aggregate from $1 million to $3 million, so the premium was $55,000. And one of the reasons why I was not hesitant to come give the presentation tonight, because this is the first year that the premium is actually going down. So the proposal that we received from the same carrier that's been carrying it for the last 10 years, which is Evanston Insurance Company, which is a division of Markel Group. It's an A+ 12A company, which is the highest rating that you can get. Okay, and they continue to provide us coverage for the last 10 years. It was the best proposal that we had this year, and we even acquired coverages and prices from our carrier with the parish, which is Arthur Gallagher, and they came in a little bit higher. In addition to that particular premium, we'd also had to buy some additional coverage for the company that's carrying our policy now, which it wasn't feasible to even consider changing. So the proposal that we have this year, and also I just met with the directors with the mental health department, and they suggested that we increase our deductible from $15,000 to $50,000. They never experienced a loss or a claim, and they feel that the savings in the premium would probably be justified. The difference between the $15,000 and the $50,000 deductible is about $5,000 a year. The premium would decrease from $55,000 to $50,000, and that's what they recommend, is the $50,000 deductible. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Mr. McConnell.
Well, you answered the question before I could even ask it. Have we had any claims or any sort of a history with all of this? Then I move to accept the recommendation of our insurance agent.
Moved by Mr. McConnell, second by Mr. Lambert, Todd Lambert.
That's the $50,000 deductible, by the way.
Any further discussion? Any opposition to the motion? Motion carries.
Thank you.
7, sales and use tax report, Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Gwen LeBlanc.
Good evening, members of the Finance Committee. You have before you your normal sales and use tax report. There's just one correction. It says for the month of March. It should be for the month of April at the very top. And this is April collections, which represent March sales. So if you go down that center column, you can see that our three districts that collect taxes is our East Ascension drainage. You can see that year-to-date it's up 0.6%. And, of course, as we reported last month, we're still realizing the effects of the FEMA contractor that departed the city of Gonzales. And then also our sales tax district number 1, which is all a rural sales tax district, it's up year-to-date 8.2%. And our sales tax district number 2, it is up almost the same thing, 8.4%. And then we, if you want to review the charts on page 2, this is a bar chart. Now, this is just depicting our 1% sales tax district. And this is a year-to-date, January through April. And you can see it compares 07 in the darker red color to the purple color, which represents year-to-date 06, year 06. And you can see that consumer retail is up, motor vehicles are slightly down, business to business is up, and the petrochemical industry and their suppliers are up. And you can see that a little bit better on the next page on the pie chart. You can see the largest slice of the pie is the petrochemical industry and their suppliers, and this is just for the council to get a feel of where your taxes are being collected in our parish. And you can see that the petrochemical industry and their suppliers represent 45% of the collections year-to-date. And the next slice would be the consumer retail, and that represents 31% year-to-date. And then that red color is the motor vehicles, and that represents 15% year-to-date. And then the smaller slice represents business to business. And that's business that typically do not sell to individuals, but their main business is to other businesses, like valve companies and building, lumber companies, things like that. And then the last chart is a historical depiction for your review of each of the three sales taxes from 1997 to 2007. And of course, you can see the ups and downs of the curve. You can see it on there, and as we reported earlier, 2006 was our largest sales tax collection year in the history of our parish in all three districts. So that's a report. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Comments for Ms. Gwen?
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Gwen.
Thank you.
We'll take up number 8, 2007 budget amendment number 1.
Okay, you have that also before you. It's a rather large budget amendment. This will be the 2007 budget amendment number 1. Overall, we're decreasing our revenues by $549,800, and that's mostly due to the adjustments you'll see in the ad valorem taxes. And we're increasing our expenditures by $7.7 million. And as we go over it, you'll see that most of that is well, not most of it, but the main areas of increase is East Ascension drainage by about $2.7 million, road and bridge, our road and bridge operations fund, $1.5 million. We're making an amendment for the criminal court fund of $77,000, the Hillaryville sewer construction fund, $390,000, our maintenance fund, $209,000, Homeland Security, that's a grant, $312,000, and the fire district, $766,000. So as we go through it, that'll just give you an overview of what's going on. So the first fund we want to look at is our general fund. And that's an ad valorem tax supported fund, so you can see that we're reducing the ad valorem taxes in that fund by $68,600. And then another revenue is a grant revenue of $50,000, and that's that state appropriation that we received as a result of the work of our local legislative delegation, and that was to purchase generators for all the fire departments in the parish. And then the transfer in from the sales tax district number 1, $209,000 to total for a grand total to the general fund of $5.1 million, and that's to provide for the general fund's transfer out to the maintenance fund. And then to increase it, transfer in from East Ascension drainage by $20,000 to $477,000, and where I say there's a motion, the motions are attached for your review. So this was a motion of the Drainage Board. So in the general fund, amending the expenditures and transfers out, economic development, that was council motion to appropriate an additional $39,000. General administration, OEP, where this is required by the Home Rule Charter. If we move money from one department within a fund to another department, it requires a motion, authorization by the parish council. So we're taking $20,000 in general administration and moving that to OEP, Office of Emergency Preparedness, and that's for training. So we thought there was an excess, enough of an excess there to move it to his department, as per his request, Richard Weber, to provide for some necessary training he would like to do. And then another one is intergovernmental grant. We're increasing it, and I'm on page 2 now, to increase it by $50,000, and that's to spend the state appropriation. You know, we received it as a revenue of the $50,000 from our legislative delegation. Now we're going to disperse it. And then the transfer out. Once the sales tax increased, the transfer into the general fund by $209,000. The object of that was to transfer it out to the maintenance fund for their salaries and benefits. Sales. Now we're on another fund, Sales and Use Tax District number 1. This is our 1% sales tax district. We're increasing all the transfers out in it as follows. To the first one, increase transfer out by $209,000 to the general fund. So the transfers in and out are within the departments only. There's, you know, but that requires by our charter council action. We're just taking money in a transfer in or out. It balances. We're taking money from one fund and transferring it to another. So the fund that's transferring it out, you'll see it again as a transfer in from the respective department receiving it, the respective fund. So we're the $209 from the general fund goes to the maintenance fund to increase the transfer out by $1.5 million to total of a $4.8 million that's going to the Road and Bridge Fund to provide for additional personnel and equipment, and to transfer out $300,000 to the Community Development Block Grant Project 1, the Hillaryville Sewer Project, and that's per your council motion, as you can see, and to transfer out $90,000 for that same project, Hillaryville Sewer Project, to provide additional funding for URS for a contract supplement for that sewer system, and that's per your motion, as you can see on March 1st. And then on the East Ascension drainage, it's kind of lengthy. You've already voted on all the expenditures, and you can see your motions in the back, so we'll just go over the revenue. And the first one is, well, revenue, except for the first one, it involves both revenue and expenditures. And this is your motion, the East Ascension drainage motion of 4.9, to combine the revenues and expenditures in Fund 04 and 05. That's your regular drainage and major drainage into one fund. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take all 04 and put them in the same cost accounts in 05, and we'll delete 04 from our budgets and our accounting system. And then the other revenue and transfer in is an adjustment to the ad valorem tax. East Ascension drainage also is funded by an ad valorem tax, and that adjustment is $103,400. And then there's one more revenue on page 3. The transfer in, $94,000 from the Office Building Construction Fund to provide for the residual balance upon completion of the project. There's two funds that are getting some money. The Office Construction Fund project is completed, and it was funded by several funds, and that's the shop. So once we're returning the residual balance that was left over in the same percentage that they funded it. So East Ascension Drainage will get $94,400. We're just closing out that fund. The project's complete. And all these expenditures on page 3 and 4 you who sit on the East Ascension Drainage Board have already voted on them, so you can look at the motion if you need to review. So we'll go to page 4 at the bottom. You'll see our West Ascension Drainage Fund. That's an adjustment also for the ad valorem taxes. And then on page 5, we'll get to the Road and Bridge Regular Maintenance Fund. It has transfers in $16,600 from the Office Construction Fund. The same thing. It was another fund that participated in that construction fund for that office building. So it's getting back its prorated share of what it contributed to that construction fund. And then the next one is to increase the transfer in from sales tax by $1.5 million to a total of $4.8 million to provide for additional personnel and equipment. And then the expenditures, acquisitions, vehicles, and equipment. They want to increase their acquisitions, vehicles, and equipment by $201,500 to a total of $943,000 for the additional cost of equipment. And salaries and benefits, they want to increase salaries and benefits by $1.3 million to fund this additional personnel and benefits costs. The next fund is the Criminal Court Fund. These increases are requested by the Criminal Courts Fund, the 23rd Judicial District, and it will be funded by the surplus in the fund balance. Once again, per our charter, you cannot move money from the fund balance to any line item cost account without approval of the council. So that's why these are here. They want to increase by $50,000 for a total of $85,000 for a digital recording system for the courtrooms in this courthouse right here, and either a projection or television system for the courtrooms. And major repair, excuse me, for major repairs, they want to provide $27,000 for panic buttons installed in each courtroom, judge's office, and an electronic lock system for entrance to the judge's chambers from outside to provide more security in the courthouses in the courthouse east. So if you turn to page 6, fire districts, fire district number 2, that's on the west side of the river. They want to amend their revenues to increase miscellaneous revenues by $10,200 for money received for an insurance claim on some damaged fire trucks, and that was per the motion of their board on 419, which is also attached. Expenditures, they want to increase maintenance and supplies for vehicles and equipment by $10,200 to $30,000 for a total of $30,000 to repair these damaged trucks. So they're receiving insurance money, they're amending their revenue, and then they're spending it on the repair of these fire trucks. And then their fire rebate that they get, they already have it in their revenue, but they wanted to track what they spend that money on, so they asked us to create a cost account for to track those the monies that they receive from the fire rebate, 2% fire rebate program by the state, to put all their expenditures in a separate cost account. The health unit, that's an adjustment to the ad valorem taxes. Mental health also is funded by ad valorem taxes, an adjustment to the ad valorem taxes. And then professional services, they want to increase their professional services in 2 departments, $12,000 each, and that's from also from their existing fund balance, which requires, once again, council approval. Okay, on page 7, these are all our lighting districts, and 1 through 7 is the very same thing in each, the adjustment to the ad valorem taxes. So if you go to page 8, this is East Ascension Major Construction Fund. They want to, Bill Rue asked that the mitigation land purchase be increased by $428,500 for a total of $778,000 per your motion on 5707. And then we get to this office building construction fund, and the same thing. We're transferring out to those 2 funds I talked to you about to close out this fund. It's a residual balance to the 2 funds that participated on a prorated share. And then this is the Hillaryville Sewer Project. Transfers in $300,000 from Sales Tax District 1 to fund this project, or additional funding for this project, and that's your motion of 122106. And to provide for a transfer in of $90,000 from the Sales Tax District number 1 for the URS contract supplement for this project. And then the expenditures, contract payments, we just increased it by $300,000 to $1.7 million to provide for the sewer project, and also increased the engineering fees by $90,000. And then on page 9, Council on Aging, that's an adjustment to the ad valorem taxes. And then our maintenance fund. If you recall, I said the general fund received from the sales tax district one additional $209,000. Then they transferred it out to the maintenance fund, and to increase that transfer in from the general fund by $209,000, but to a total of $695,000. And to reduce the transfer in by $140,000 to $20,000 from East Ascension drainage. And of course, the reduction in the transfer in plus the increase in this expenditure totals to $209,000. Homeland Security, that's a special fund we set up to track the Homeland Security grants, to increase the intergovernmental grant revenue by $311,000 to a total of $414,000 for the Urban Area Securities Initiative grant, which was awarded in February of 2007. And they're going to spend that money on acquisitions of vehicles and equipment. Fire District number 3 dedicated. This is the money that they call the election for. It was a 10 mills, if you recall, plus a parcel fee. We account for that separately from the funding that the parish sends them from Sales Tax District number 2. So once again, they have an adjustment in their ad valorem taxes. And then on page 10, their expenditures and transfers out. They want to increase their salaries and benefits by $152,000 per motion of their board, and also in miscellaneous by $2,000. Same motion. And then the transfer out, they want to transfer out an additional $100,000 to their construction fund. And then Fire District number 3 has a good many amendments to their budget. These are expenditures that they budgeted in 2006, but they were not encumbered. They did not spend them, or they were not encumbered, so they want to rebudget them in 2007. If they would have encumbered them, if they would have already, issued a PO or a contract or something like that, it would have been an encumbrance. But since they didn't, it just fell into their fund balance, so now they want to take it out of their fund balance and rebudget it in 2007. They want to increase their contract labor by $60,000, utilities expense by $5,000, telephone by $2,000, professional services by $2,000, workman's comp insurance by $12,500, and that was due to an audit. Workman's comp is audited separately to make sure that they're, they come and get our payroll records and their payroll records in our office and make sure that the premiums are adjusted as such. Because Fire District number 3 has been hiring more people, naturally their workman's comp premium went up. Operating supplies by $20,000, small tools and equipment by $9,000, and acquisitions of vehicle and equipment by $187,000 to a total of almost $1.4 million. And then this is their construction fund. They're receiving that $100,000 from their dedicated fund, and they're spending it as follows: architect and landscape $60,000 amendment, professional service increased by $10,000, and contract payments by $200,000 to a total of $1.2 million. And this is all action by their board. And gentlemen and Ms. Cheryl, that's it. On the 12th page, it's just, oh no, one more, I'm sorry. And in their acquisitions of buildings and land, they increased that by $100,000 to $172,000 total. So what we would ask you to do, unless you have any questions, what we would ask you to do is put it on your next agenda as an introduction of an ordinance. This would be an amendment.
Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Lambert, Ty Lambert, second by Mr. McConnell. Any further discussion, comments, concerns? Ms. Fontenot.
I just wanted to ask Ms. Gwen if you could give us an up-to-date, or get back with me by email, an up-to-date on where we are with the recreation funds as far as what
Yes, I was
what's
asked
being
to
spent.
do that by the chairman. I think we're meeting Monday
Okay.
at 5 o'clock.
Okay,
and
that's
we'll
covered.
do that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any opposition to the motion? Motion carries.
Okay, thank you.
Number 9, contracts, Ms. Sandra Piera, paralegal. Number 1, renewals. A, agreement between Department of Health and Hospitals and Parish and the Parish of Ascension Family Planning Program.
This is a renewal. It's for family planning.
Hey, Marion.
No changes from last year. It's actually a 3-year contract.
Motion by Mr. Ty Lambert, second by Mr. Oliver Joseph. Any questions, concerns, comments? Any objection? Motion carries. B, contract for drug and alcohol testing.
This is just a random selection of employees to be drug tested for drugs and alcohol. It's a renewal, no changes from last year.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Mr. Dempsey Lambert. Any objection to the motion? Motion carries. 9C, agreement with East Baton Rouge Mosquito Abatement and Rodent Control District and Ascension Parish Mosquito Control aerial spraying.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Me too.
Motion by Mr. Ty Lambert, second by Mr. McConnell. Any comments? Any objection to the motion? Motion carries. 9(2)A.
This is a new contract between First Call Network and the parish. It is pending legal approval. If you have any questions, I have Marion Miles here, I'm sorry, to answer any questions.
Is that what was just handed to us? Could we have a little overview on that?
Ms. Miles, could you please come up and
I think
give
she
a-
had something. I'm not sure if she handed it out already.
give a brief little presentation, please? Overview.
Does everyone have a copy? I thought I did.
Yes, ma'am, I believe so.
Mr. Oliver? Okay. With me, I have Mr. Red Delat. He's the Vice President of First Call. What we're looking at is, I'm sorry, let me introduce myself too. I'm Marion Johnson Miles. I'm the acting Chief Planning Official right now for OSEP. And what we're looking at is a telephone alerting system for the Ascension Parish EOC. The system that's currently in use, we can't get any customer service right now. We don't know the last time it was tested. Let's see. It has no damage assessment capabilities. With First Call, Mr. Red, he came in, he demonstrated it to us. Every time I call, he's there. He can answer any question I have. So the support's there. He's the Vice President, again, of the company. He's a CEM, and he resides here in Ascension Parish. Attended a CARE meeting a couple weeks ago, told CARE about First Call being used in the EOC. They agreed to it. They saw a little presentation. We told them a little bit about it, same thing I'm telling you guys, and they said they would put $7,500 up toward the purchase of this software for us to utilize for the first year. Also, with First Call, we have a one-time setup fee of $750. The annual cost of the previous system was $12,500. With First Call, the annual cost is $12,885 plus that one-time fee. It is recommended that the current telephone alert system be replaced. Ascension Parish OSEP recommends that First Call be designated as the sole provider for the telephone alerting system within Ascension Parish EOC. Another good feature of First Call is that it's internet web-based. So from anywhere, we can log on and alert people. And we have the voice and pager.
Mr. Lambert.
Yeah, I'm gonna make that motion that we go ahead and with it, because it's the same cost and we're getting a big upgrade with it, so.
Right.
Just for $750 one-time fee. So I'm
Motion by
gonna
Mr. Ty Lambert,
Approved.
second by Mr. McConnell. Discussion, Mr. McConnell.
Yeah, just, I want to make sure we understand. And by the way, thanks so much to the CARE group for putting up half of the cost to get this thing implemented.
I'll let them know.
They've done a lot of things in this community for us, and we appreciate them. I just can't express how much we appreciate them, because they do so much for our emergency preparedness. I just want to make sure this is the system that alerts our residents by telephone. Is that what this does?
Yes, sir.
So if you don't happen to be watching your cable TV at the moment of an emergency, or if you don't happen to be tuned into a radio station or something like that, this is the system that's going to call the residents on the phone to inform them that there's some sort of an emergency going on, or...
Yes, sir. Mr. Red can validate what I say or tell me if I'm wrong, but we have a radius we can use. If something happens in a certain radius, we can plug in that radius and it'll get all those people in that area. It won't notify everyone but that particular area.
Great.
Yeah, I just wanted to make certain that I was clear on that and that everybody was clear on that this is a notification system,
right.
And it's also going to be tested on a regular basis.
Yes. And then you can't beat the damage assessment either. In case something were to happen, we have that damage assessment capability.
Ms. Fontenot, you had something? Oh. Any further discussion?
10,000 minutes of clock.
Any opposition to the motion?
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Red's bringing up something. When he said we're getting 10,000 minutes of testing per year.
Any further questions? Any opposition to the motion? Motion carries.
Thank you.
9.2b, contract for professional services between Robert Rose Consulting, Mental Health Board, and Parish of Ascension.
This is a new contract, and this is to conduct a parish-wide needs assessment. I have the little blurb there for you from the contract. It's to make the board and its director aware of current needs being, for the people being served in the parish. If y'all have any questions, I have Ms. Susan Middendorf here that can maybe answer any questions.
Motion. Motion by Mr. Hillensbeck.
I'll second the motion.
Second by Ms. Fontenot.
I just want to make sure.
Ms. Fontenot.
Just want to make sure that the mental health board was alerted.
They're here.
To that.
They're here this time.
Great.
Any further comments? Any opposition to the motion? Motion carries. 10, Personnel Committee recommendations. Chairman Savoy isn't here. I guess I'll take them up. If you can bear with me a minute. Proposed additional positions in Office of Emergency Preparedness. Maybe Mr. Weber could come up and talk about them. I see he's here.
Mr. Chairman, if I may interject while he's coming up, this came up during strategic planning earlier, some additional staffing that we wanted to, that the OEP wanted to include in there, and so we thought we'd be better to present it over here at Finance Committee. It was discussed at strategic planning, and this is just kind of an updated thing. Yeah, we'll have to amend. That's what's going on here. Thank you, Mr. Weber.
It's only 2 additional members of the staff. It's actually replacing the staff that's currently in position, but it's not just setting up a staff, it's setting up the entire basic operating systems of emergency management. So that's how critical it is to what we do for a living. Now, as Department of Homeland Security gave me several options of setting up a staff, I chose the ICS system, and the reason why I chose ICS is because all the first responders that respond to all hazards in the parish should already be familiar with ICS. Well, in fact, they are very familiar with ICS. Well, I want it standardized with them so when they come into the office, they already know what that they have to go to logistics, or they have to go to planning, they have to go to operations. So we're standardizing with what the people that respond to the hazards in the parish are already familiar with. Again, in your packet that I gave you, you have Senate Bill 63, which is the state supplement for emergency management salaries. It should list out all the provisions that are required for that one bill. The third slide in your package it kind of displays the current structure of what the staff looks like within Homeland Security right now. It's an administrative type of structure. It doesn't perform very well under emergencies, but what I want to do is on slide 4 set up the actual ICS structure, which is operating systems itself. Those operating systems are operations, planning, logistics, and administrative. If you can flip back and forth between each slide, you can see the difference in the two. What's in brown are the part-time staff. I'd like to bring on a part-time staff 1 day a month, bring them in a train. The full-time staff is everybody that's listed in yellow. To crunch some of the numbers on slide 5, if you look at the current budget for 2007, what we currently have budgeted for salaries in Homeland Security is $173. Projected with the state supplement through the year. If you ran the state supplement all year, you'd have $233K. And for the new staff that we'd like to see put in place, it would be $221, which would be a surplus of $12,000 for 2007. We're doing that by not bringing on the operations officer this year. And the reason why I don't want to bring the operations officer on this year, it's a very critical position. I want to make sure that it's right. I've got to get the right person with the right qualifications in there, because they handle, if you can look under it, they handle law enforcement, fire, EMS, DPW, all recovery operations. So that person has to be pretty sharp. So we're looking at a $12,000 surplus if you ran this budget all year for the year 2007. Projected labor costs for 2008, once we do bring operations on, would increase salaries in Homeland Security in the amount of $34,000. It's just salaries alone. That's not benefits. Next slide. If you calculated benefits into it for the year 2007, we'd have to increase the budget by $7,700. And in 2008, bringing on operations, you'd have to increase the budget for the salaries to $73K. So for the price of one employee bringing them into the parish, if they accepted the full benefit package, we can get a full contingent of staff that can handle any emergency that comes our way. What I'd like to do now is just request your support to make this a reality, because I think it's fairly critical to emergency management in the parish. Quite a bit of critical infrastructure, and this is what we need to manage it.
I move that we accept this.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Fontenot, second by Mr. Joseph. Any questions, comments? Any opposition to the motion? Motion carries.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, excuse me, Ms. Fontenot.
I just wanted to say a comment. Mr. Weber had his first task in my district this past weekend, and I just want to commend him and his staff for the great job of securing a well-developed neighborhood, and the citizens of that neighborhood say thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
10B, Ascension Parish Corner Mental Health Funds. I guess we'll pass. Ms. Fontenot.
I'm not sure, but if I remember from the meeting, I don't think there was no action needed on that.
Okay.
I don't think we talked.
11, Utilities Committee recommendations. 11A, Muddy Creek Bridge Grant update. Ms. Collins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At the Utilities Committee meeting, Councilman Savoy asked me to come to this committee and give you an update on the Muddy Creek Bridge grant. I talked to Dr. Keller. The grant that was supposedly that he was looking into was a FEMA mitigation grant. It was a special appropriation that was not funded. Therefore, there was no going forward on actually pursuing an application. The second portion of it, he asked about a $500,000 fee and asked me to get with finance. I met with Ms. Gwen LeBlanc today. Those funds are out of the road and bridge funds, and they are dedicated, and therefore that is what the funds are to be used for. If you have any questions other than that on the financial, Ms. LeBlanc is here to assist in any way. But that's where those were the two issues that Councilman Savoy asked me to do.
Ms. Fontenot.
Ms. Martha, what you're telling us is there is still appropriated in our budget $500,000 for Muddy Creek.
As far as I know, Ms. Gwen, yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay?
Any other comments, questions? Okay. Next we have 11B, Country Ridge funding.
Okay. On that one, I presented to the Utilities Committee that we had received the Louisiana Government Assistance Grant for a total of $72,800. We did get the award letter. It's pending the contract and having that implemented, and therefore the funds would come down. Now that is dedicated to requested in behalf of the Country Ridge. I think the other portion that was funding that Finance was working on and was available, I think $200,000, Ms. Gwen, was $275, I'm sorry, and on that for the additional cost. So those are the two funding mechanisms. We did meet today, and we are going to try and pursue to continue looking to see other avenues, either within the budget through the funding from the parish or some outside sources. So we are still working to try and get the additional money.
Okay, just a little background from the utilities meeting. It was brought up that you could possibly use some of the money from the Muddy Creek Bridge because that project is on hold and it wasn't ready yet, which we find out you cannot. And if possible, then we was going to look at using some of that funding. There's a $202,000 shortfall for that particular project. The Corps brought up something earlier, and maybe possibly Ms. Gwynn can answer this, that we were going to get possibly $600,000 in rebates, $300 for Dara and $300 for Hillryville through the STAG grant. Maybe we can look at using some of those rebates for Hillryville. Can you possibly elaborate on that, Ms. Gwynn?
I just heard it for the first time.
First time tonight, but
I do
think
know that
possibly
the Dara,
that could be used.
LCDVG went over, as well as the Hillryville, and we are looking into the amount of monies that the STAG is appropriated versus what we've actually spent. So the reimbursement, we are looking at that also to see, and we'll work with finance to bring that back to you.
Okay. Could you bring it back for the next finance meeting, please?
Yes, sir. Or either the utilities, whichever.
Okay.
And then we can go from there.
Any other questions?
So, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Lambert.
So, Ms. Collins, what you're saying is the 600,000, it might not be totaling 600 on that?
The Corps had figures tonight. There was 300,000 for Dara, and it had 300,000 for Hillryville. On the Dara, the total expenditures that we were able to see, it went to $1,800,000 plus. So that's what was spent. Now that, I don't know what part of the reimbursement or what the LCDVG grant paid $1 million. So the 800 is over. So we're going to work to see however we can get as much money spent for it. And then we'll go from there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Mr. Joseph.
Ms. Martha, can you check to see, can we use that STAG grant money in that area? Can we transfer it to that area? I'm not sure, but reading the information on STAG grant there, when they do that, is specific for those projects.
That's correct.
Because the EID that's what it's stating for. So can you just double check on that? Can that funds be
used to transfer maybe to Country Ridge?
If I could interject, I actually had a conversation with Mr. Falcom Hall. It's actually a rebate. We already expended our money, and the STAG grant is going to refund the money to us. So yes, it's our money. So
we've already expended the monies for the grant. So it's, if we have left over, that's what we're going to try and see just how much is actually going to be left over.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Collins.
Okay.
11D, resolution approving the issuance, sale, and delivery of not exceeding $7 million of revenue bonds Series 2007 of Ascension Consolidated Utilities District Number 1, State of Louisiana. Mr. Joseph.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Jerry Silva asked to have bond attorney here to any question, but Jerry is not here. So if anyone else have any question on it,
I would like to have Mr. Osmond come up and possibly just do a quick overview of the whole.
That's why I hear that, Mr.
Since it was requested, we just soon ask him to do it.
Thank you. I am Jerry Osborne of Foley Dell. Delightful to be here again. This is a water project that Mr. Joseph and fellow members of the district have prepared, and the thing that made it go is that the people in the district voted 2-1, as I recall, 2-1 in favor of a 25-year 10 mil tax, and that's really what's going to make this bond issue go. The 10 mil tax will pay the maintenance, a large part of the maintenance and operating expenses of the district. It'll pay for the regular operations of it, so that basically the revenues that come in from the ratepayers will be profit and be able to go to pay the debt service on the bonds.
Mr. Hillsback.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one question, Mr. Osmond. What's the bond issuance cost?
Let me get that. Excuse me. We've budgeted $72,525.
$72,525. Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Any further questions, comments of Mr. Osborne? Thank you, Mr. Osborne.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, sir.
If you have any questions, you can always call me and be happy to answer.
With that, do we have a motion for a resolution?
I can't make that motion.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Dempsey Lambert, second by Mr. Hillsback. Any opposition to the motion? Motion carries.
Full council.
12, recommendation of funding for new DPW West building on parish-owned property off of Highway 1. Councilman Thompson or Joseph? And Mr. Joseph?
Thank you there, Mr. Chairman. You have a package there with some photos of the DPW building on the west bank of the river. And as you go through it, you can see the condition of it. And the West Ascension Drainage Board made a recommendation that we get the administration and the finance department to review this year funding and see if they can have any funding available to construct a new DPW building on this property. And if so, we would like to do it. If the funding is not available, we would like to make a recommendation that we budget in the 2008 budget for this DPW building.
That's after Country Ridge is funded, right?
If we have money this year, we would love to have it. If we don't, but we'd like to make sure it's budget in the 2008 budget. And we're talking about between $600,000 to $700,000.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. McConnell.
This particular building, and I think I know the answer, but if I may, I'd like to address a few questions to Mr. Joseph because he's more familiar with it. This building here, this quote building, unquote, is who? Well, no, I don't want to know. Who, the parish doesn't own this. We're renting this. Yes.
Yes, sir. We've been renting this building for the last 35 years.
And what is the monthly rent on that?
Currently, we are paying $900 plus utilities.
Okay, 900. So if we amortize something like that over the few years, you could actually get a decent building. This is
You don't want to show the
disgraceful. I can't see parish employees working in a facility like that. The restrooms, the kitchen area, or even the storage area, changing area. That's terrible. I would like to offer that motion on your behalf, sir, that we amend the budget or include in next year's budget the construction of this building for our DPW on the west side.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to check with our new chief administrator, Tom Pierce. You take these pictures, or you've been looking at this, Mr. Chief?
I looked at it for about 20 years when I was a councilman, but no, I didn't take the pictures.
Well, let's find it in our hearts to help our employees on the west side as soon as possible. Thank you.
I just got one question of Mr. Joseph. My wife does a lot of doctoring of photos with this new software, Photoshop. You didn't doctor these photos, now did you, Councilman Joseph?
Okay, we got a motion by Mr. McConnell. Mr. Second. Who seconded? Mr. Lambert. Any further discussion? Mr. McConnell.
I'd just like to know if Mrs. Hillensbeck doctors Mr. Hillensbeck's photos.
Any opposition to the motion? Motion carries. Number 13, proposed agenda for regular council meeting of May 17th. Please review that for a few minutes. Mr. Joseph?
Yes, under recreation, we need to put in the Lorry Middle School Park and Parker Road Primary School intergovernmental agreement with the school board.
Okay.
And that's it.
Ms. Fontenot.
Item number 16 is voting precincts. Register of Voters Robert Poche. I had to work on getting a new location for a precinct this past week. I want to make sure, Cinnamon, if you will, to get in touch with Tommy Marshall, the safety guy, and Laverne Bourgeois to make sure that we have the lease. A 5-year lease, I think, is what they're asking for, and if they've gotten the proper documentation for this item on the agenda, so that we can make sure we take care of that, because Mr. Poche said it's urgent, it's important. Thank you.
Mr. McConnell.
I would like to point out that item number 12 under strategic planning is coming up for our discussion. I would hope everybody has in your packet. This is the drainage ordinance. It's come before us a couple of times. It's been referred back and forth, and it's been the shuttlecock of this council for a while now. But I believe we have a good, clean, final version that everybody has agreed on, and it is coming as a recommendation of strategic planning. And I would hope everybody would have the opportunity to look at this and be familiar with it for a discussion when it comes before the council next week. So please just make note that item number 12A is something we've been working on a long time.
Mr. Hillsback.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I in particular would like to recognize and thank Mr. Sigler, Ron Sigler, interim planning director, for his input on this ordinance.
Anything else on the agenda? Council agenda.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Mr. Joseph. Meeting adjourned.